This video presents content from Chapter 4 of the book, Sustainable Living and World Peace, from a section entitled, Influenced by the Military-Industrial Complex, Threatening the People's Goal for Peace while Endangering Our Liberties and Democratic Process. The following quote is attributed to Dwight D. Eisenhower. This conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together. The following quote is attributed to Hermann Goering. Naturally, the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor in Germany. That is understood. But after all, it is the leaders of the country who determine policy, and it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy, or a fascist dictatorship, or a parliament, or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is to tell them they are being attacked, and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country. As mentioned in the previous section, there have been many windows of opportunity for great cooperation between the United States, Russia, and China, and other countries to solve problems around the world and work toward creating more sustainable and peaceful world conditions. Indeed, there always is opportunity, today, tomorrow, and always, to reach out to other nations, even our perceived adversaries, try to create trusting relationships, and facilitate progress towards sustainable living and world peace. Instead of doing this, however, we keep amassing more weapons and advancing weapons technology while regularly conducting diplomacy through intimidating, provoking, threatening, and propagandizing. It habitually seems we and many other countries would rather lead with our attack dog or the threat of its use than with virtuous leadership and diplomacy. In fact, it almost seems that our prevailing course of leadership has resulted in an increase in tensions, resentment, and paranoia between the United States and other nations. Over the years, while opportunity for peaceful and sustainable relationships could be had, leading with our attack dog or the threat of its use has seemingly created more problems than it has solved. The wise words at the beginning of this section by President Eisenhower are an important warning to us. They help explain one of the reasons why we see our leadership and foreign policy endeavors continually fail to create sustainable and peaceful outcomes, while always seeming to be very costly and entangling us deeper in worsening situations. What President Eisenhower recognized arising was a growing influence of the military-industrial complex that was not promoting the best possible national security options, and that could actually serve as a force to drive our foreign policy away from promoting the goals of our democracy. The military-industrial complex has always been pushing for more military spending while generating paranoia-heightening propaganda to feed to the public and policymakers. While doors toward great peace are always there to open, the military-industrial complex has always served as a perpetuator of instigating hostility. The military-industrial complex intrinsically does not want peaceful change because they have a vested interest in bad relations and in characterizing other countries as being adversaries. They petition policymakers that the United States needs more arms while portraying certain other countries as pervasive and pugnacious threats. We buy and develop more arms, creating more paranoia and eliciting a response of arms escalation in other countries. Other countries' military and industrial complexes do the same thing in their countries, creating a situation where they all benefit from their persuasive antics and military building businesses. The larger nations are eager to broker deals with smaller countries to sell them arms. The smaller countries are told that purchasing these arms is in their best interest, even though the tensions the smaller nations experience are often due to the larger nations' inability or unwillingness to create and maintain overall peaceful relationships. The weapons-building nations, who actually have the best opportunity to create peace, get richer, while the smaller nations waste money on weapons that would be unnecessary in a peaceful environment. The things the military-industrial complex has done and the influence they have had has helped drive the escalation of Chinese and Russian arms development, amassment, and sales around the world. The opportunities presented at the end of the Cold War and at the time of Chinese rapprochement were always jeopardized and in part squandered by the influence and actions of the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex's rhetoric helps fuel ignorance and arms escalation of ever-advancing madness. They say they are creating jobs and advancing national security, but their efforts are actually wasting taxpayer money, time, and talent. Remember the Eisenhower quote from the beginning of this chapter where it mentions humanity hanging from a cross of iron. When more productive diplomatic methods could provide a much better and more sustainable and more meaningful security. The military-industrial complex gets their interests served by lobbying for and promoting that we need to keep pursuing ever more advanced weapons that they can develop and provide. In fact, the war machine industry is not part of a sustainable economy at all, since advanced weapons have no place in a sustainable future. Their efforts actually create less security and an unstable environment compared to what could be achieved through efforts to overcome ignorance and create meaningful, peaceful relationships. The welfare of the people and the pursuit of the best national security through means of genuine peace are downplayed, as is therefore real sustainability and real prosperity. National security is paramount and should never be compromised. Additionally, the pursuit of the best possible security for our nation and the creation of conditions where it can happen are equally paramount. However, great opportunities for peace, prosperity, and heightened security are continually blown, overlooked, and go untried due to our leaders and the forces that influence them in uncreative and hawkish directions. Money and influence prolong an outdated course of ignorance-driven leadership, and the biggest perpetuators of this continued failing course of action are politicians who are supposed to be leaders of our democracy. The essentially collaborative efforts of the military-industrial complex and the politicians they influence and work with have a focus that serves themselves in the generation of wealth and power, while their focus is simultaneously directed away from serving the people. The more dangerous, destructive, complicated, and complex the weapons that are made by controllers, politicians, and their military-industrial complex protagonists, the more we need the controllers to oversee them and control international relations. The more they can keep people apart, foment divisiveness, the more we need their advanced weapons that only they can develop, produce, and control. We keep trying military solutions over and over when leadership that would understand the importance of trusting and respectful human interactions would accomplish more. The development of an ever-increasing quantity of ever-increasingly destructive weapons is somehow promoted as sane in the normal world they create, when everyone else would ultimately prefer and benefit from the creation of trusting, respectful, and peaceful relations. Somehow the sane ones are people that end up with weapons of mass destruction in their world of control. While they continue their endeavors, our leaders tell us that they are doing all this military expansion to protect democracy and our way of life. when they are actually greatly motivated by political reasons and a quest for power. They do it because they are poor leaders without vision of how to achieve the best and most powerful national security and prosperity. Their actions actually threaten our democracy, have worsened our national security, and have wasted immense amounts of money and resources. They have not been following a course that is the will of the people, and they have not been doing what would be best for the people they are supposed to serve or what is best for their welfare. Lovers of democracy and our way of life should recognize the threat to both by the military-industrial complex and the politicians they work with and influence. Consider the Goering quote from Chapter 2 stating that government can propagandize to make it appear that people who want peace are a threat to the country. Consider that Goering was a player in a militant government propaganda campaign that ended up destroying his country. The real threat to our country and national security has actually been in our poor leadership from leaders who are political candidates from our political parties, and the people's unwillingness to accept personal responsibility for our international relationships. It is good to be a politician and military contractor under their leadership. It is bad to be a taxpayer with more advanced weapons always pointing at them. Amassing tons of weapons just gives controllers more power, while they assert it is best for them to be in charge of these weapons that they have been promoting and amassing. Watch out for people that benefit from maintaining an unsustainable situation that helps keep them in control or to gain power. Be wary of other forces that benefit from not having peace or who cannot comprehend or believe in a world of peace or sustainability. The sooner it is understood, the better. No one will win a future arms race. Part of ending an arms race of the future and overcoming the influence of those that benefit from dividing us will be when relationships at every level manifest from an innate virtuous understanding originating at the level of the individual.